Courtenay-Alberni.
Mr. Speaker, it's a huge honour and privilege to rise tonight in support of Bill C-241, otherwise known as the National Strategy of Flood and Drought Forecasting Act. Mr. Speaker, as we know, rapidly shifting weather patterns and the existential threat posed by climate change have made extreme weather events more common and more devastating than ever. According to the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre, in 2023 and 2024 alone, drought-induced wildfires claimed about 22.5 million hectares of land, just over a third of all hectares burned in the past 20 years. Floods, meanwhile, have caused roughly $800 million in insured damages annually between 2014 and 2023. We know how catastrophic weather events are both a symptom of and contributing factor to the climate crisis we all face. However, mitigating the impacts of extreme weather events isn't just an environmental issue, it's also a fiscal issue. Last week, the Parliamentary Budget Officer projected that the Disaster Financial Assistance Arrangements Program spending will reach actually about $1.8 billion annually between 2025 and 2034, which will make the next 10 years of disaster relief costlier than every single extreme weather event serviced by the DFAA since its founding in 1970. This isn't just a cost to government either, Mr. Speaker. In 2024, catastrophic weather events cost a record $8.5 billion in covered damages, squeezing insurers and everyday Canadians further during a cost of living crisis. GHD, a global engineering and architecture services firm, projects that the overall financial toll to Canada will reach at least $139 billion over the next 30 years. The cost of inaction is high and rising exponentially, making bold climate action the only fiscally responsible choice, Mr. Speaker. Further, it is a mental health imperative. On October 8th, I put forward a motion in this House calling for a national strategy for addressing the mental health impacts of emergencies. Because of the impacts of extreme weather, events ripple far beyond the disaster itself. The trauma and grief often caused by losing homes, loved ones, and a sense of security to extreme weather events causes and exacerbates mental health challenges for far too many Canadians. It is also deeply important for reconciliation with Indigenous peoples and justice for rural communities, because we know, Mr. Speaker, wildfire displacement disproportionately impacts First Nations and Indigenous communities, with Indigenous peoples representing approximately 40% of all wildfire evacuees. Earlier today, I spoke with Leah Main. She's a city councillor in Silverton and a director for the regional district of Central Courtenay. I wouldn't say she's a city councillor because their community is quite small, actually. It's a town, but she's here on FCM lobby days. But she pointed out that despite rural communities being the places where climate mitigation is most necessary, they often don't have the capacity to adequately monitor or prepare for extreme weather events. We need to do better, Mr. Speaker, at supporting those small rural communities. And as the federal NDP critic on emergency preparedness, I've been consistent in my support for proactive coordination across all levels of government to mitigate, Mr. Speaker, the impacts of extreme weather events. That's why I presented motions to establish a National Fire Administration for better coordination and a National Aerial Firefighting Fleet as crucial members to bring resources, information, and true partner to Canada's emergency preparedness systems. Mr. Speaker, New Democrats have also championed the call for a Youth Climate Corps, mobilizing young Canadians looking for work towards renewable energy projects, emergency response efforts, and more to support climate mitigation and adaptation. We hope to see these priority investments for a climate-resistant, resilient Canada reflected in the upcoming federal budget. As we advance the important work of climate change mitigation, Bill C-241, it's a promising step in the right direction. Establishing a national strategy on flood and drought forecasting has the potential to improve monitoring infrastructure in communities across Canada. If properly resourced and done in true partnership with provinces, territories, local communities, and First Nations and Indigenous communities, better monitoring will support climate mitigation efforts and thereby save lives, prevent devastation to local economies, and tackle Canada's mental health emergency. Mr. Speaker, as far back as 2016, I've spoken in this House calling for a national flood strategy, so I appreciate the work done by the member of Terrebonne, on this very important issue, and I congratulate her on putting forward this private member's bill. And New Democrats will always stand up for working Canadians, rural communities, and Indigenous peoples. We'll stay involved in the consultation and implementation process to ensure that those most impacted by extreme weather events are top of mind in this government's national flood and drug monitoring strategy. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.